Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Welcome to our IoT sector webinar series. Today, we will discuss about industrial IoT, aka IIoT, going through devices, use cases, features that you might look for in IoT applications. For those who don't know me, I'm Marcelo. I am Tagoya content editor, and with me today I have Thiago Lima and David Hall, two of our customer success managers here at Tagoyo. Before we jump right to our webinar, please present yourself on the chat, and if you have any questions, our Q&A is just open and the chat as well. And it is usually located, the Q&A is usually located under the chat. Right at the end of the presentation, we will have a moment to answer all the questions. Tagoyo is a powerful platform that has been used by thousands of developers around the world to create solutions in several sectors. Our customers have developed innovative solutions for agriculture, energy, logistics, transportations, and other sectors. And today, we will focus and cover a little bit about industrial IoT. So, before we jump to the good stuff, let's check our agenda today. We will start with the fundamentals, passed by device and connectivity, expansion capability, use cases, and finally, we will witness a live demo. So, without further ado, I will pass the mic to Thiago. Please, Thiago.
Hello, everyone. Thanks all for being here today. Thank you, Marcelo, for the introduction. Very happy to be participating in one more webinar with you guys, and very happy to tackle this case in particular, as is an ever-growing market, and it's becoming available to everyone out there. So let's do this. So first of all, let's understand a little bit of the IoT fundamentals. Where do we see the industrial applications? Um, Grouping on a little bit more, right? Of course, we see them since layer one, where we have IoT devices there. We see them on edge. So these two combined, they are the primarily focus on industries right now. And obviously, you can always connect that to the cloud, right? And I'll show later on a couple examples of how the flow would work with the device. How do you come all the way from the first layer, from the edge device? You go through the edge layer, which is our Tago core, and finally sending that over to Tago.io, where you can connect with third parties and services and expand your project. So let's talk about sensor integrations, but I think it's fundamental that we talk a little bit about sensing itself, right? So what is sensing? So sensing is a measurement of a physical property, right? It can be temperature, pressure, light, sound, motion, and etc. So we convert these physical properties into electrical signals, so they can be processed, transmitted, by other devices. So we can very simple example is a thermometer is a sensor that converts temperature into voltage, and we bring that information in and we add it on the dashboard with its current temperature, right? um, so now we see that with different information we can create different sensors, right? We take that basic structure and then we can create robust sensors for industrial cases, right? So we can extract more information from the physical world. For we can also think about a camera, right? Camera is a sensor that captures light. By when we apply image processing techniques, we can extract informations like faces, colors, and etc. So, having that in mind, how do we understand which technology can help me for my case or for your case, right? And which one of them is more suitable? We all know CAN bus, RS485, I2C, and these other protocols, right? So these are communication standards that allow different devices to exchange data over a network, right? They have different features, advantages, depending on the application. CAN bus, for instance, it's widely used in automotive industry because it's very robust, it's reliable, and it's fast. We have the RS485 is suitable like for long distance communication, has noise immunity, And I2C, for example, is simple and low cost and can connect to many devices and on a single bus, right? So this permits integration with series of applications like lighting, heating, conditioning systems, and other sensors that are using these protocols. So you need a device that can act as a bridge, right, between the protocol and the actual device. For example, you can use CAN bus controller to connect a car wash lane to a CAN bus network. You can also use like R2 485 converter to connect temperature sensor to uh, a 485 network and have the ability to use an I2C expander to connect to multiple switches under its own network. So, uh, going a little deeper, so Modbus, it's openly published in royalty free data communication protocol, right? Since it was published, so we have an understanding that it's really reliable and it's fast, and we can lean on that, right? So we can see an example here. Of third-party sensors that can be integrated with Modbus using LoRaWAN, right? So you have, uh, I don't know if you can see there on the picture. I'm hopefully it'll look a little bigger for you guys. But the Modbus RTU, for example, relies as a master slash slave serial asynchronous serial communication via DRS 232 or DRS 485 that I mentioned before, right? So you have the master, it can read and write, it can request. You have then your slaves, and each one of them can request and write and work parallelly on this Modbus master. So this brings a lot of possibilities. One of them I'm going to share with you guys in a little bit. So what can we use, right, to expand the sensor capability, right? So let's look at this diagram really quick. So we have sensorless motion control. It has three currents. You can go through it on the edge, or you can use it embedded, right? It sends your binary, and what do we receive on our side is power, torque, energy, speed, position, temperature. Let's throw a few other in there: vibration, battery, uh, and other some other variables that we could use, and we can transform that later on, make calculations, generate alerts on top of the variables that we are receiving. So like I said on the beginning, it's very common for us to get requests where industries they want to keep their data locally, but they also want to have certain power above. So they are empowered by Toggle in the sense where they could have the information on edge. You could have Toggle Core, for example, running on an industrial computer. You could have your all your sensors connected to Toggle Core. You can do your local processing vector from Taguayo the data that you want to receive from Tago Core, and there you have your portal. You can create your access policies. You can manage your alerts, manage your sensor integrations, and connect to third-party services as well, as I'm going to show it on a following diagram. So that can be extremely helpful for those who need some native tools, and that can take advantage of that. You could combine that with the Kickstarter app that is an application that we make it available for customers, right? And they can import it, and that would include series of features like organization management, having, for example, an organization admin, having a supervisor, adding guests to the application, changing their permissions, who's going to manage, who's going to be adding sensors. Is there going to be an end user that's going to be visualizing that information, right? So that's the idea. So seeing here from the bottom, we can see that we have our sensors right there. Two of them are connected to LoRaWAN, publishing through MQTT, and the other one's connecting through a Modbus, right? And then on Toggle Core, you can do local storage, device management, data process, You can sync operations between your Toggle Core and your Toggle IO. You can do app updates. You can control your IO, like I mentioned before. So if you're receiving a ton of variables from your device, you can trim that on a parser on Toggle Core, send to Toggle IO only what is relevant for you, only what you need later on. Um, and then we have series of plugins like MQTT broken, local visualization. We have a Modbus plugin as well. You have series of different Lotter ones that are available on Taco Core, TripStack, Evernet, Helium. Um, and the good thing about it is that if you do have the resources, you can even build a plugin if you want to. So, Thiago, what if I want to build my own plugin? I want to manage how the connection will work, what I want to send up. You're empowered to do that, right? So then you send that to Taguayo. You create your environment, your dashboards, receive that data, treat it, customize the application. When you have everything ready to go, you deploy it to Tago Run, right? Which is then is your final step, is the portal where the customer is going to visualize that information. So let's look. How would this, looking at a bird's eye, having with a bird's eye view now, how would that fit into the ecosystem, right? So then we have on our left side our sensors. Our sensors, they can be connected um to through MQTT, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, Zigbee, LoRa, and all, right? Sends information to your network server. So the network server receives the information from the gateway and all its devices, and then finally you send to your IO platform, right, in which you can create your portal, and all that we discussed previously. So access management, alert management, sensor management, report generation, and then you pass that on to your run where you can share with your end users. You can send that information over to a ERP, a CRM, an SAP. You can integrate other features into it, like the weather channel, Google Drive. So there's a lot of capability that can be done, since adding the sensor all the way to deploying and bringing that information over to the end users of the application, right? So here we can see an example of an industrial setup, right? So there's a couple different things going on here. On the top, we see that we have a user that can push. He has a control, right? So let's say he can turn on and on a machine, turn a signal to close it, or gather a push from the machine, right? So you can receive the data. Or on the bottom, we have sensors that they're just constantly sending information, right, about their temperature, their battery, uh, gas level, voltage, all those physical properties that we think about, vibration when we're talking about industrial applications, right? Sends that to an edge computer, to a gateway, right? And then forward that information to Toggle using the same architecture that we discussed on the slide before. So you have your device, you have your gateway, you have your LNS, and then you finally connect to Toggle and pass that view over to the end users, right? So now I'm gonna pass over to David, so he can share a little light with us of the different devices and connectivities that we have, and some other resources that we can count on uh, while developing on Taguayo.
Thank you, Tiago. So let's expand the view just a little bit and talk about some common devices that are used in the industrial applications. Here you can see this is just a few. Togo has over 500 sensors. That number grows all the time, available for your use. And we're expanding that on a weekly basis. We're always adding more sensors. But specifically for industrial applications, you see a few of them here. For liquid level, you see an industrial trans receiver, a Modbus RS485, programmable logic controller, PLC Modbus, just to name a few of these. And obviously, they work with MQTT, LoRa, Bluetooth, NB-IoT, and others. So this is just a small glimpse of some of the sensors that we have. Very popular as well is outdoor GPS. And we'll talk about that a little more coming up. But in the industrial world, we're tracking not just machines, stationary machines within the shop or the organization, but we're also tracking equipment, movable equipment. And outdoor GPS comes in very handy for that as well. Now, let's talk about some more capabilities that Togo has. Again, this is just a few, but data visualization is one, right? I like to think of Togo as really it's beyond IoT because there's so much things you could do. It's not just about the visualization, right? You really obviously you can interact with the dashboards and things like that, but you can really drill down and get very specific on what you want to see and what you want to do within your application. Here's just a few examples. Tiago mentioned the Kickstarter, which I'll touch on that a little bit, but Kickstarter is great for this. It's basically you have a foundation that you can already build upon in your Togo IO application. As Tiago said, you can manage users and all sorts of different things within that application. So with that, just keep in mind that it's not just about visualizing the data. Yes, that's a huge part of it, but that's only one part of it. There's so much more you can do with Togo. Here's a couple of them. Additional platform resources. You could have business rules and cases built into your application. There on the left, you see a map with a pin, and on that pin, they actually have a picture of what they are keeping track of, whether that's a truck, a refrigeration truck, a forklift, whatever it may be. An alert setup. Let's talk about that a little bit. Alerts are heavily used across the platform. Maybe you want a geofence, around a certain part of your industrial warehouse to where certain people should not be going in there, or there's hazardous materials. You have some limitation there. You can set alerts for when something enters the geofence or leaves the geofence, as well as outside. You could have your geofence outside to where maybe a piece of equipment should not leave that particular property, right? And you can get alerts. There's SMS alerts, email alerts, push notification alerts. You could have all three or just choose one. The geofence was just one example. Obviously, you can create alerts for battery level, for industrial if a machine is getting too hot. Is the machine running when it should not be? Like turn it off and it didn't turn off. Create all kinds of alerts. And then from that, not just associated directly with alerts, but you could have custom PDF reports of basically anything you want. Of when did my sensors last communicate? What's my average temperature on a particular machine or many different machines? So it's very easy to create a really cool looking PDF report that you can send out. Now you can send it out manually to your users, or you can send it out on schedule as well. So the PDF reports are extremely popular as well. Now a few use cases here. So predictive maintenance of electrical motors, along with a host of other things, is critical to know, right? Early failure detection and optimization of maintenance schedules is critical in the industrial world. And really across all sectors and verticals, this can apply to that. You can have real-time machine monitoring, real-time data visualization and analytics. And what's critical about this is when you really think of failure detection, think of something a step before that. Like a machine getting hot, the example that I said. You can set an alert if this machine gets too hot, send me alert so then you can shut the machine down, right? Before you have a catastrophic failure. So it's really powerful in that sense. And from maintenance schedules, there's lots of things that need to happen in the industrial world. And again, across all verticals and sectors, you can set up those schedules. So really that you're really on top of what's going on in your industry and what you're trying to do for your business needs. PLC integration, I mentioned that briefly before with MQTT. As we mentioned, this is just kind of a highlight. You can integrate machines and sensors. Tiago did a very good job speaking about Modbus and the interface with that. Again, based on MQTT protocol, you can create KPIs, visualization, historic data, push notifications, and reports that I spoke about. But again, this is what I mean about Togo is more than just visualization. It really goes beyond IoT with all the capabilities, all the third party applications that we interact with, and those sort of things. So when I think of Togo, it's really a well rounded application that can do many different things that are critical for your everyday business needs. Now we are at the most exciting time, I like to think, is for the live demo. And for today, Tiago is going to be doing the live demo for you. So I'm going to pass it back to Tiago so he could show you a pretty cool demo.
Sounds good, guys. Glad to be back. Let me start my screen share here so we can dive into a little bit of the capabilities and um, give you some inspiration there on your side. There we go. So here we are. So this is an application that I've worked on through the Kickstarter. So know that I use the Kickstarter base here, and it works extremely well. I have my admin setup in which I'm looking at now as administrator, right? So I can add new customers to my application. I have several cases built up to it. The one that I'm gonna be showing today is industrial IoT. um, I can also have sensors grouped in a very particular manner. It can be very robust and at the same time modular because you can create subgroups as your business needs. And also my sensor management page in which I can add my sensors just by typing in the QR code, the LNS server that I'm going to use, and the name, and that'll already connect with my backend, and my sensors will be ready to go. I can also give permission to users to be adding sensors as well onto my application. But moving to the good stuff now. Let me wait for this to load very quick. Um, so now we have a dashboard that is showing the statuses of four machines, right? We have M1, M2, M3, and M4. I'm monitoring a couple different things on these machines, like voltage. I'm monitoring vibration, and I'm also receiving feedback on um, from the platform, from the logic that I did. How many days has this machine been operating since the last maintenance, and how many days it'll take for this particular machine to require maintenance again? So here we can do a couple of calculations that can be very helpful to the industry sector. For example, in this sector here of these four machines, I have calculated the overall productivity, right? So we see here, for example, that M4 is working at 52% capacity. Therefore, it represents only 16% of this sector. We have M3 and M1, which are much higher. M1 is at 97% capacity and delivers 30% of this entire block. And M2, 80%, which delivers 27% of this sector. So by managing that, I know which machines will need attention, and I can take action right away to make that productivity go up, right? So I have a couple graphs here to so it lets me know the productivity history, any voltage variation during this process. I have my heat map where I uploaded the floor plan, and I can see the four machines position here, so I can see the temperature in lifetime. I have a couple diesel tanks there for measuring level, right? A couple sensors measuring level. And on the bottom, this is the juicy part. So I have all my logs and I have the vibration of the machine. By the vibration and the time of operation, I can calculate the productivity, right? And I can also calculate when it's going to be my next maintenance, right? So my first maintenance was 345 days ago. My next maintenance is going to be in 4,256 days from now. Other machines behave differently. I have these two machines that they have a different setup, so they'll need much less maintenance, and then I can have my statuses here. We can also dive into creating alerts for them, right? So I want to get an alert when a particular machine reaches a certain temperature, or when the battery is low, if that's the case. What's the compressor status of that particular machine? The check and alert is also important. I could verify if that particular sensor has been active in a certain amount of time, which means is if my machine is reporting every 5 minutes, but for some reason it's been an hour and it hasn't reported yet, this alert setup will let me know right away, right? I could do this alert either, I could do series of alerts either by sensor or by groups, right? And as David explained on his presentation, we can also do reports in the same way, right? So I could grab here the alert section. I would create an alert here and select the day uh, and the recipient, right? Once that has been set up, I'll select which sensor, and I could either leave this as yes, or what does that mean? It'll be sent every Monday at midnight, or I can set it as no, and it'll just be a preset configuration to my report if I want to come here to the back in the main screen and just shoot it right now, right? And then we have our user management rules, in which we can add particular users. And this could be very important because here I'm going to add, this is the organization admin. He's going to see the entire thing, all the sensors, all the machines, all the blocks, all the locations from all the customers. You could do a supervisor, which could take care only of a part of the particular company, right? Or a group of machines in specific. And then you'll have the an end user, let's say someone responsible for a particular machine or a particular group of machines that can have a different view. So you can make your dashboards really light, and you can make data available according to your need. And that's really fundamental. That ties up to access policies and security and how the information is displayed. You can compartment different customers inside the same application and still keep their information separately. Their access will be respected by the access rules and policies that you set up on the beginning, right? So, just a little taste for you guys on how that will look like, and some very basic capabilities here that we've put together so you can see different possibilities. There are also other templates on our website that you could check it out. If you go to our website, tago.io, then products and dashboards, check the page get templates, because here you can see different layouts that you can use to begin with for a couple different scenarios, industrial included, right? You can work with blueprint dashboards, so you can add multiple sensors using the same view. You can do other cases as well, not just industrial, but other cases are available in tools such as bulk device registration, temperature and humidity indicators, and so on. So, yeah, I would like to pass the word back to Marcelo.
So that's all, guys. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.